everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the 17th Circuit Broward County Guardian Ad Litem Communicast. My name's Adena Wilson. I'm your host for today, and with me I have Abramowitz, the Executive Director for the statewide Guardian Ad Litem program. Alan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Adena, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate having this opportunity to talk to all the people out there, the volunteers, and those that in the future want to make a difference in the lives of children.
That would be wonderful. Now, tell me a little bit about your background and how you came to be the head gal in Florida.
Interesting story, but my first day of law school at Florida State College of Law, they told us we couldn't work. They didn't want us working, especially me, who would probably struggle with grades. I didn't come in there with the best grades in the world. But I had to do something. I couldn't just study all the time. And I saw that there was a Guardian Ad Litem program to help represent children. And in our family, public service is the family business. Family in nonstop military for more than 100 years. And wow. I served in the reserves at some point. So public service is our family's business. And it gave me an opportunity to volunteer as a Guardian Ad Litem. And I was assigned 2 children, Candace and Brower. I know I made a difference in their lives. But the neatest thing is I met a lot of great people when I went through the volunteer training. In fact, I met another law student named Jody Katzen, who I later married, and she became my wife. So
that is wonderful.
Guardian Ad Litem means a lot to my family, especially my kids. But we are, so what happened is this program's been around for 40 years, but they created a state program when Governor Bush was in charge. And at that time, they posted the position, and I applied and didn't get it. But I didn't get it because it was the first time they came up with a computer system, People First, to apply. And I applied through the People First system. And at the bottom line, it said that you cannot apply, you have to fax it. So they never even got my application, which proves I wasn't ready to be executive director. And we're very fortunate because Angela Orkin was our first executive director, and she did an amazing job for this. But every other time they posted it, I was first in line. It was something that a career goal of mine. And fortunately, back in 2010, Governor Christ appointed me. Later, Governor Scott reappointed me 2 times. And recently, Governor DeSantis reappointed me. So I really appreciate to have this job to work with amazing staff that are committed to children and volunteers that just want to make a difference.
That's fantastic. And that's a funny story about you and your wife. Okay, so as executive director, that's a very broad, all-encompassing title that a lot of companies and organizations use. What are your main job duties?
When I first came in here, we decided on what our mission was going to be. And like every state has these lengthy mission statements and all, but we wanted to make sure that everyone understood what our goal is, from me to the volunteer helping a child. And that goal, that mission statement is, I am for the child. Anything you do, you have to be willing to say, I am for the child, and do it. So I would say my main job is to make decisions for an agency that says I am for the child. And what that means is making sure our volunteers and staff have the tools they need to properly advocate for the children. And most important, to listen to children and ensure we hear their voice when we make policy and strategic planning, so we are focused on being accountable to the children, and that everyone in this organization, from the people doing the work, interacting with children, to the executive director, everything they do is I am for the child.
Okay, which leads into my next question, that you do a lot of work as far as making sure that the children have what they need, and that the guardians, our volunteers, our wonderful volunteers, have what they need to advocate for the children. You do a lot of work with pushing legislation that would help child welfare. Is that correct? Can you tell us about some of the things that have happened this past year?
Well, we are very fortunate that our legislature Senate, in-house, and our governor are some of the most pro-children people I've ever met. A bunch of them have been adopted. A bunch of them are foster parents. Some are guardian ad litems. And it's surprising, but it makes it very easy. And all you have to do is bring good ideas to them. And if it will help children, we have advocates. In fact, over the last 10 years, every bill we've done, and every bill that we've brought to them to consider doing, has not only passed and been signed by the governor, but they've made it through every committee without ever a no vote. And so this is a nonpartisan agency. We work together with everyone because we believe everyone wants to do what's right for children. So for example, a couple years ago, we did a therapy facility dog bill so children can go to court and it helps them testify if they have a dog. And there's a lot of science behind it. But it was important that children who have had such a traumatic experience could get through very difficult days, especially when you have to go to court and experience the trauma again. So there was that bill. We did a few years ago, the Keys to Independence Act. Every foster kid we have the resources now to fund and to ensure youth in foster care can learn to drive. And in fact, at the time we did the bill, only 2% would turn 18 with a driver's license. And now it's amazing. So we're one of the only states that ensures children are prepared for adulthood in that way. Done. In fact, when I interviewed for the first executive director, to become executive director years ago, it was a lengthy process. You're in a room, and the people that were interviewing were Attorney General Bob Butterworth. He had left the Attorney General's office at the time, and some judges and stuff. And they said, what's one thing you're going to do? And I said, I want to immediately make it so volunteers could drive with kids, because there was a prohibition of volunteers riding with kids. You'd be kicked out of the program. And I thought it was so important to build trust with children that we needed to have that available for volunteers that wanted to do it. In fact, we put in the law that volunteers could drive with kids as long as the program didn't make them and the court didn't order it. And that was important because, the trust between the child and the volunteer is critical if they're going to share with us information so we can properly make sure their voice is heard. When we got that done, I thought, I'll do 3 years and leave. I mean, these are 3-year appointments, but I've just really enjoyed working with the volunteers. They inspire me. The things they do that is not recorded in the outcomes we see, the bureaucratic outcomes, the things they do for these children, they save lives, they make lives better, and they're there for these children long after the child ages out of foster care at times, and they become the significant adult in the child often.
Absolutely. And we have some amazing volunteers, and we still need more. Am I correct?
Yes. The good thing about having this at the end of the year, it's a great opportunity for everyone to think about it and say, what am I going to do this year as my New Year's resolution? What can I do to create a legacy, to help people in a way that is significant? And being a volunteer child advocate is one of those ways. Often people say making a difference in the life of a child is one definition of legacy. And I'm telling you right now, you'll get more out of it than the child. In fact, my dad, who's in his 80s, my mom is in their 80s, it inspires them to do things every day. They want to make a difference in these kids' lives. And there are studies that show that people live longer when they're volunteering. I mean,
absolutely.
Not to go after that population, but when you feel like your life makes a difference, and it does when you're there for a child, making sure that child is heard, making sure that child has the opportunity to speak to the judge, which we do, and making sure that our recommendations, so the judge who's sitting there in the role of the parent at that point is making great decisions in the best interest of children.
And this will be a great New Year's resolution for anybody looking for a good one, especially in this time when we're so separated from each other. it's important for us to understand, to count our blessings, and to understand that children who are in some kind of a quarantine, lockdown, separation environment, and they're not with their own family. Not that they're not in a loving environment, but it's not their family. And these kids need us more than ever. I do want to let everybody know, if you are interested, if you're in Broward County, you can contact us at 954-831-6214. If you are not in Broward County, you can go to guardianadlitem.org. You can look up your county's office, get their information. Alan, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything that you do for us as staff, for us as guardians, for the children, for the state of Florida. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Adena. I appreciate you and all the people watching. This is your opportunity. Make it happen.
Yes, it is. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you for the next episode of the Broward County Guardian Ad Litem Communicast. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.